Здравствуйте, everybody, our Russian audience, our international audience. We are at TASS in Moscow on behalf of the National Unity Club, let's say the international arm of the National Unity Club, on a snowy day in Moscow. I am Pepe Escobar, geopolitical analyst, and I could not be more pleased and honored because we have an extraordinary guest tonight and on a moment that is quite ominous and difficult. Context. This is Thursday, early evening in Moscow, and we have privileged information that is leading us to believe that there may be an American attack on Iran as early as this Thursday night or maybe Friday night, or as it's being discussed in Washington, there's going to be a long weekend. So Lieutenant General Abdi Alaudinov, I don't even pretend to introduce you to him. He's a hero of the Russian Federation. It's an enormous honor for us foreigners to talk to Lieutenant General Abdi live. And from the point of view of a Western audience, this is beyond precious because you won't see this anywhere else in the world. So I was talking about the human way, in fact. Would you say that SVO helped Russia to solidify as a nation and to find its true identity now in the 21st century?
No. Russia already had its identity. Russia almost lost its identity after the fall of the Soviet Union, the period during Yeltsin в 90-х. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's true. We almost lost our identity. Praise God, we are now having President Putin, who is truly started to do everything possible to bring back our identity as a state in all spheres. Identity, sovereignty, that you can lose in one day and you won't be able to find it back, return it back. So bringing back the sovereignty, identity was the unacceptable fact for America. When America started working, that we are the owners on our land, we're not the raw material for Americans in European countries. Now, America didn't like that when people say that they're independent, because when they did the program to set apart Soviet Union, Russia was supposed to fall apart, continue to fall apart, but it turned out that Russia did not, but got stronger. So that's the answer to the question. Did we lose our sovereignty fully? No. We came to this war because we kept our sovereignty and our identity.
Exactly. And the sovereignty is the key theme because there are not many, in the global south, we can say that there are maybe 4 or 5 sovereign nations, not more than that. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, these are sovereign nations. The absolute majority of the global south is not. And they are scared of the empire out of control now. But maybe the deeper phenomenon, which I don't think it's still being fully considered in Russia, is the example of defense of sovereignty that Russia is showing to the rest of the global south. Because as you mentioned as well, this is a war that Russia didn't want. This war was forced on Russia. If in December 2021 the Americans had accepted the Russian proposal, let's discuss indivisibility of security. So security for US, security for Europe, security for post-Soviet states, security for Russia, security for Eurasia. They didn't even answer. And this was 2 months before the start of the SVO. So it was a forced war. And as you also said, and as you also lived, you had to reconfigure the war. The SVO that was conceptualized in 2022, it moved completely into a different direction a few months later. So you think these decisions, since the start of the SVO, were they rational? Were they the best decisions at the time? Or some serious mistakes were made?
This situation has to be clear from the roots. If we look at the root cause, we has to go back to the Angela Merkel, Poland, and others. Look at Minsk agreements, how from 2014, for their own money, Soros made revolution at the Ukrainian territory, brought to power people who would be fully working for America. And when Soros said on TV that he has spent for this revolution $1 billion, and he's getting ready to get the $5 billion, not just from the revolution. And the question is, they are not hiding what they do. Every time I highlight that, it seems that America makes the revolution at the Ukrainian territory, takes out the power that was voted by people, put in money into it. Then we see representatives of America that are in Kiev. They're given the pies or something like that. They say what great job they do. Then from 2014 we see we're being cheated, and we've been said, yes, we're gonna sign a contract and everything is gonna be all right. And then it's like Merkel and Hollande was telling in internet, you can Google it in the internet, they did not plan to sign the contract. That we are pulling down the time for Ukraine to get ready to start the war with Russia. It's not us who's saying that. These are the people who were for a long time cheating the people of their countries and us, that they want to sign a peace contract, peace agreement with us. And today, what do we need to see out of it? Nobody, never, ever wanted to sign a peace agreement with us that would bring to a situation where Russia would have a peaceful life and everything would be well. Every time bring an example as an extremist, Alaudinov material. Everything is written down there. What all the states of the heads of the states do. And to think that somebody wants to have an agreement with us, we can hope for that. Maybe so people would not be any more casualties. But 99% are assured nobody will leave us alone. And when you look at the position from that point of view, as you just said, then you understand a lot of questions, they fall off on its own. Because these are not the questions to Russia. It's not for us. It's not us who wanted this war. But instead, America, Europe was getting ready this Ukraine for this war. And again, as it was said, Alaudinov said that was the extremists to take over Russia. You have to pull Ukraine from it. To create such a conditions that the main enemies would be them and make them fight each other. We don't want to do that. The people who are sitting over there, they want to do that. They know what they do. They know that a lot of people died, but then they kind of say, oh, we don't know, the people are dying there. Well, wait a minute. You are the ones who created that. It's because of you. Then why do you do the show that you feel sorry for the people? They don't care about people. They don't care how many millions people will die. They have their own objective, the interest of America. And if to say that correctly, that's not the interest of America. These are the interests of oligarchs that are living in the United States. They are those predators that are trying to start the wars. And in whole this network, that we're in a zone, we find ourselves in that zone.
So essentially, the SVO will be decided in the battlefield, not in a negotiation. How long will it take?
SVO shouldn't be finished a long time ago. We are interested in it, both in America and in Europe. We say America says that you have to find peace, and then Great Britain and all of the others, they say no, we have to fight, we'll give you this or that. It's all big game. I think that they would try to tell us that we have to continue to negotiate, to sign a peace agreement. Merkel, Hollande, and others, what they've done before. This is a continuation of the same game. And I think that they will bring us that we would wait for the European countries when they would be prepared for war. And after that, they will start a war against Russia. I think if we'll try to fight them, it would be a different military, different setup, different resources, different powers, and they need to realize it. With Ukraine, even from the very first moment, first year, second year, third year, we made like a jewelry work. We wanted to bring less casualties to the people of Ukraine. We were holding our mark, our level, the conditions where we would not hurt to our brother nation. This is why it takes us so long to get through. In many questions, we were giving a possibility to Ukrainian side to at least not to get under, not to kill the peaceful people. But if this situation will escalate, it's going to be a completely different story. And we have another military instruments for that. Nobody's going to play games with them or do the jewelry work. We have to remind the words of Mr. Putin that if there is a war with Europe, we have nobody to talk to or have a peace agreement. And they have to realize that. And if they begin to understand that, wait a minute, they don't need to fight us. They are guilty of their own problems.
NATO has all sorts of scenarios predicting a war against Russia, in fact. Of course, they put it on the opposite. Russia is going to attack us. Sometimes you have Germans saying, Russia is going to attack us next week, literally, and it's not metaphorically. So Russia is prepared for this inevitable war against NATO. And what's happening in Ukraine now is like the preamble. So this war seems to be inevitable within the next 4 to 5 years, according to NATO itself. And obviously, I would say that at the highest level here, from the Kremlin to the Security Council to the Minister of Defense, everybody knows that.
Of course. We understand that at every level, and we're ready for this war. And we're ready for this war ahead of time. It's not like we have to fight everywhere, but we measure. We understand the past event, the what will follow after. Again, I want to get back to the words of Mr. Putin. If they would take over us or win over us, and Russia would cease to exist. How did he say? Then why do we need a world where there is no Russia? Those that think that you can take over us, they have to greatly measure and turn it over and over and over in their mind that Russia will not let this humanity to live without Russia. And maybe they will think differently. But you know, for everybody to agree to war, it will not happen like that. They will always have opponents or people who are for war, but the healthy mind people, but people that get united against the common enemy. There's more there in our country than anywhere else in the world. So we will do what we need to do. We will stand against all these attacks. And one more thing I want to add, that honestly, if there would be a possibility not to wait until all this NATO bloc military would come to us, but to be at any point of the fight where they are, where they're pressuring other people greatly, I would go there. The earlier we'll start to fight them, the earlier we'll come to our freedom. Even in this case, we don't take the sword out. We're not trying to take out that we need to start the war now. Even in this case, think about it. Do you really need that? We call for peace. But if you don't leave us alone, of course we will fight. And believe me, in this war, there will be no winners. The one that is trying to attack us, they will not win. That we can guarantee.
So you are essentially, I would not say you are proposing, but you are considering the possibility that the best solution when Russia sees that this war organized by NATO is inevitable will be a preemptive attack. No.
Today, as a state, to fight or attacks anybody, and that's not what I'm offering. But there's a war of these states that takes place in the other territories. And I offer to support these countries for them to have such strength to stand against those countries' terrorists. Iran. How come we can't help Iran with what we have? Why not? Let Iran get what we have and start fighting in such a way that this opponent really be at loss, and we can help our ally. Why not? Because this is what America does with the European Union and Israel. They fight all the way this way. That's how they have a proxy wars everywhere. Just us, we have a direct war. We're trying to be honest. We could have the same proxy wars just like them, helping the allies with what we have and the states with what we have.
Would you say that Europe still has not learned their lessons of history? Because they keep repeating the same thing century after century when it comes to Russia. It's like an obsession.
I want to tell you an anecdote. The leaders of European states get together and they discuss when should they attack Russia to take over the country. French remembering how Napoleon attacked Russia now. We need to attack in autumn or in spring, for example. And they say, no, 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 wait a minute. Napoleon, they attacked Russia. Russians knocked them out, came to Paris, put the flag in Paris, and destroyed military of Napoleon and his power. Okay. Then let's attack him during the summertime. Some Germans get back. No, wait a minute. Hitler tried to attack Russia, attacked Russians. Russians took over us. They brought to Berlin. They destroyed the whole Germany, put the flag on the Reichstag, and they left. And they say, wait a minute, when should we attack Russia? And one of these countries from European Union say, Chinese say, attack them right now. They have such great construction. They really need people who will be working at the construction. The point of this joke is this. So many years, history of Russia has proved that people were fighting. Sweden, Polacks, Frenchmen, Germans, you name them all. They were all trying to fight against Russia. Nobody won. Nobody. For the time to get an illusion that they are taking over the land, win over never. The question comes in, if they would be smart people, they should read the history and get the lesson. But obviously they're not good students. And the worst thing is that these wars at some time, they were with, bows and arrows and sables, right? Horses. This time has gone. Today, our war using the most heavy technological weapon. We don't even have to get out from the barracks. They punch the button here. And then from space, they will learn the big holes that will take place in the territory of those states around the world. Why do they need that? Why? They don't want to learn the lesson. Do you know why? Because the people are not guilty. The nations are not guilty. There are no bad nations. Germans, good people. Frenchmen, great people. Italians, good people. Look, any nation, you will find great people there. It's within the power, the leadership of the states, the Satanist worshippers. They don't care about people. They do what they need to do, their objective, to kill humanity. So that's where we are. We are one of those that are at loss because of these people, what they do. Because in this or that manager, Wait, myself, I'm always with the God. I always have to be there. You, as a civilian, you still are fighting. You are under that problematic nuances because of those people. The same way with every human on this face of the earth. Until we stop the Satanists, this all will continue. And if you look at the Holy Scriptures, Jesus will come and everything will be at the place. We're waiting for Him coming. I believe that this time is not that far away.
So, you believe in a sort of apocalypse?
Of course I do. I believe in God. I believe in the Holy Scriptures that I live my whole life. And I do know that what is written in those Scriptures, stage by stage, it comes to pass. We came to the time where we are very close to apocalyptic events. We need to understand it's not something before somebody sees before the TV and they say, here's apocalypse. It's very specific questions there.
Give us an example. For instance, would you say that now the conditions are being created towards an apocalyptic encounter between a declining empire supported by this international Zionist axis? And in fact, it's like the Ouroboros symbol, nah? Like the snake biting its own tail. It's the same compound, the empire and the international Zionist axis. And on the other side, you see the leaders of this in progress multipolar world. And the two top leaders are evidently Russia and China. So this is essentially an apocalyptic clash. And it will have to be resolved militarily sooner or later, right? Is this more or less how you're seeing it without going into, let's say, more ethereal interpretations?
Look, what happens today gives us clearly that the humanity is divided in two camps. One camp, it's the war of Satanists. When we talk about them, there's a Zionist, Satanist, same thing. Why? These are the people that are the army of Dajjal in Islam, or Satanists. The people who lie to humanity, proving that what is good is bad and what is bad is good. So, you and I, we see the last centuries, dozens of years, the LGBT. What a silly thing. God has created us in such a way that man would get married on women, having babies. However, not to us in Russia, but to the humanity, they prove that no, the best is LGBT. This is also one of the factors that we're getting close to this apocalypse. And another one. Who is on the other side? Russia, Iran, China, Korea, states that don't want to let this satanic system into themselves, where we lose our values that was given to us, that were given us to us by God. Human values, family values. And when we talk about, no, we're not going to let it happen, they prove us how bad you are. You have no democracy. We'll come to you, we'll bring our democracy to your table. In the same way they brought democracy to Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. Look what we see and what we have in the end. wherever their democracy stepped in, everywhere, cry, blood, tears, millions of killed people. And at the same time, we see it clear that the world has divided into all parts. And that gives us a possibility to project of what takes place through the Holy Scriptures. And take a look. What is written here? This way or that way? Absolutely. What is written in the Holy Scriptures comes to pass. And existential of this war, a war of good and evil, we have to look at it at all the ingredients. And the first thing, through religion, because in this case we can see fully the total picture. Nothing to be surprised about. We have to take everything in as economical war, as a social war, and as a religious war, and as a war of resources that in the end would push us to take over this thing. And this time has come very close. And in America by its action that is getting ready against Iran, bringing that event as fast as it can.
General Abdi Alaudinov, this was a fantastic conversation because we were discussing philosophy of war at the end. We start talking about the possibility of a war starting in the next few hours. And the discussion at the end, thanks to you, it's a much, much higher level, the bigger picture. And of course, we all have to be prepared for it. Thank you so much for your generosity, your experience. Spasiba. All of you, our Russian audience, our international audience, this is something extremely special here at the TASS studio in Moscow, under the auspices of our friends of the National Unity Club, the International and the National Unity Club. See you again, and thanks for your attention.